What's up everyone, how are you all? Today we are back with another blazing Naruto story. What if Naruto was banished but became the savior of Konoha council bashing? If you enjoy, then please like, share and do comments. And also check the description to original creator of this beautiful creation. Naruto Uzumaki, a boy who has seen much hardships at a very young age, is now wandering through the gates delivering back his teammate towards the nearest hospital, ignoring all the glares of the people around him. Yes, he endured where others would break, he lived where others would die, he would have broke due to the hate, the beatings and the abuse that he has endured all his life, but like always, he endured. Like the knucklehead he always is, he never gave in, he never let everyone get the better of him despite being outclassed by betters rather in or out of the field of battle. However, that all changed shortly after the retrieval mission, during his injury treatment by Tsunade, and Anbu appeared informing the two of an urgent meeting ASAP. After the diagnosis of the blonde, he received a punch from his crush. Sakura went on a major rant demanding why in Kami's name did he hurt her, precious Sasuke-kun. I had no choice, Sakura-chan, it was either fight him and carry him all the way back or let him go and be a tool for that snake Teme to use him as an experiment. You and I both know how dangerous Orochimaru is back in the forest of death. You should understand that by now," said Naruto, almost at the point of crying, but Sakura never saw it. Instead, she slapped him right in the face. "You know what, everybody was right about you, you're nothing but trouble. A person who will never accomplish anything to anyone, you'll always be nothing but an idiot, the very most is what everyone always call you, a demon." She walked off, leaving a broken Naruto on his own. After the altercation, he walked towards the Hokage tower. While walking, he sees the villagers smiling at him while minding their own business. This confused Naruto, for the only times when they were smiling whenever he was around was when he was beaten by them or being berated by them to kill himself, claiming that, "You're a waste of space that needs to be irradiated from the face of this village. And once you die, our deceased loved ones will finally know peace." This alerted Naruto to keep his guard up at all times to ensure that he would defend himself despite making a claim to protect his home at all times. He made it to the Hokage tower only for an Anbu to approach him and body flicker to what looks like a judgment room. With all the clan heads looking disappointed on one side, and a group of civilians that make up the civilian council with looks of victory, like they have just won one of the biggest wars in shinobi history. Oh, the bravado. It didn't take long before an elder with a wooden cane and a right arm and eye bandaged yet looking very stoic despite his overall injuries. This was of course Danzo Shimura, head advisor and former leader of the disbanded Root Anbu. "This court is now in session," the Warhawk said in a stoic expression, earning a glare from the Godem Hokage. "What the hell is the meaning of this? And more importantly, why are you leading this court case?" demanded Tsunade, as he never order such thing. "This is for the good of Konoha, Tsunade-sama. And it has everything to do with it," Kaharu said in disgust, wondering why they agreed to Hiruzen to allow the boy to live. "What about M?" Naruto was cut off by one of the civilian council members. "Shut up, demon. You have no right to speak to your betters," the man in charge of the merchant guild practically screamed in hate. "As I was saying, we are here to bring the crimes of Uzumaki Naruto into the light," Danzo said, getting everyone's attention, earning a glare from Tsunade. "You didn't answer my question," she said in a dangerous tone. "Listen first before you question my motives, Hokage-sama." Homura spoke, letting the former root commander to speak. "Naruto Uzumaki, you are charged with insubordination, treason, and attempted murder," he said, going over the first charge. Insubordination. For not killing Gaara of the Sand, a weapon that almost destroyed countless lives had Sasuke Uchiha hadn't subdued the monster, he stated, to which the entire civilian council nodded in agreement, earning a raised eyebrow from the Nara clanhead. "And where did you get this information from?" "My son has informed me that it was Naruto who subdued Gaara and befriended the boy, causing him to aid the retrieval team if I'm not mistaken," Shikaku said as he narrowed his eyes in seriousness, the laziness leaving his body in an instant. "We've received testimonies from his teammates, including his sensei," Kaharu said as she pulled out 3 documents, detailing the events that occurred. They appeared to be stamped with the Hokage seal, indicating that they are legit. She said with a smirk. "That's funny," Naruto said as he looked at them with disdain. "Wasn't Hokage Gigi fighting Orochimaru during those events? So no doubt you forged this and stole some stamps to frame me as being an incompetent human. The blonde Jinchuriki spoke in seriousness, shocking those who know him to be a loud-mouthed knucklehead. Watch your tone, Brad, Homura said in annoyance. As esteemed advisors of the Hokage, we have to take initiative during the current crisis. That involves all emergency powers are to go to the people who advise the outer and inner workings of the village. That includes us utilizing the emergency powers. He said as Danzo went ahead and stated the next charge. Not before his table being broken in half by the Godem Hokage. No, you answer me when I'm speaking. Who the hell gave you permission to even have this trial? Tsunade demanded, not liking her authority be undermined by these fossil fuels. Danzo smirked as he gave her a scroll with the Land of Fire insignia, much to the slug princess's confusion as she snatched the scroll and read its contents. Her eyes widened in shock and disbelief as narrowed her eyes at the still stoic Warhawk. Now that you're done reading the scroll, may you please sit down and let me go on? Danzo said in an almost amusing tone, to which Tsunade spit at his direction. Before any questions me once again, the Fire Daimyo informed Hiruzen about the crimes he committed during the Chunin exams, with us informing him about the retrieval mission, informing him that this boy was going to end the Uchiha lineage that was vital for the village's standing. He said in an almost angered tone, shutting up any argument present. Next charge, Danzo said as he flipped a paper. Treason. You sent a letter to Hiruzen explaining that you shall leave due to the treatment you received, feeling like you should be treated more like the Uchiha clan nobleman at the time. The Warhawk said as the advisors snarled at this. Is this true, Naruto? Asked Tsunade in curiosity. I did send a note. Naruto said in serious, shocking the clan heads. But I never said anything about being treated with royalty as this jutsu stealers. He spat in anger, never wanting to be a Uchiha like Sasuke. He would rather die than be compared to that of the Uchiha heir. All I wanted was to be recognized as a human. All I wanted was to have somebody to look up to, a family that I can call Ka-chan, or Tusan. Not as a demon, as everyone in this village calls me. Naruto said, angered that he didn't even have anyone to trust. Not even his own team. While the clan heads drew concerns about the show of emotions they haven't seen before from the knucklehead brat, they were hurting inside knowing they made plans to have him adopted from a different family. Only to be denied by the Hokage and his advisors for unknown reasons, literally putting him in an apartment all by himself for no reason. Yet he claimed to the next generation that he viewed the village hidden in the leaf as a family. Yet basically abandoning the boy in the process. This is concerning. Hiyashi stated, giving the other clan heads a raised eyebrow. Answer me this, Naruto-san. How do you feel about Konoha? Asked the Hyuga head in curiosity. I hate that I'm constantly beaten and tortured on a daily basis. Naruto said in hate, surprising the shinobi council. But that doesn't mean I will destroy the village when I'm given the chance. Naruto said as he led some tears. Despite everyone that gives me those glares of hate and disdain, I still have people who are worth protecting, people who I view as family. Even Hokage Jiji, even though he and every clan never wanted me in the first place. He said, now forming into a stoic demeanor. This stabbed the heart of the clan heads, claiming to protect everyone and care for those in need while ignore the same child who needed help. Hiyashi, while angered inwardly at the statement, spoke. It's clear that Naruto-san has no love for us, only hate and resentment. The Hyuga head turned to the last Senju. Hokage-sama, I highly advise you to banish the boy immediately. He said in a stoic tone, shocking everyone. Let me finish, Hiyashi-sama. Danzo said as he read the last charge. Attempted murder. He said as everyone's eyes were wide. You almost killed the heir of the last bloodline that is worth more than what you could earn in a full life. Sasuke Uchiha, the next in line to become the head of the Uchiha clan. Danzo stated, and how would you know that I attempted to kill him if I was ordered to bring him back alive? The blonde Uzumaki asked, to which Danzo smirked and pulled out photos of the fight. The first one showed a wounded but bloodthirsty Naruto with red eyes and slits in an orange aura, indicating he is using the Kyuubi chakra. The second photo showed Sasuke blocking some strikes. By the look of his face, he looked as if he was getting overwhelmed, struggling to keep up with the blonde. The third photo showed that Naruto shoved a Rasengan, piercing the stomach of the Uchiha whose eyes were wide and looked to be passed out, indicating he could have died at that moment. And who took those photos? asked Shikaku with curiosity. It was Sakura Haruno herself. She admitted to not trusting that boy into bringing back her Uchiha teammate, resulting in her tailing him and observe the battle from afar, taking photos that would prove beneficial for our current moment. Kaharu said, using the pink-haired girl's emotions to manipulating her into going in and make evidence to aid the advisor's agenda. Shikaku, I thought your son only selected the boys to go retrieve Sasuke Uchiha back. Tsunade said, demanding answers. I did too, and I sure as hell know for a fact that Sakura was never a part of that team. The Nara head said in frustration. Nor did I even allow Sakura authorization to leave the village in the first place. She said as killer intent grew every second. Regardless, we were correct on our intuition. And all you need to do is announce his punishment. Danzo said, and before the slug Sanin even opened her mouth, Homura spoke. I know this seems wrong for all the wrong reasons, but think about the damage he could have caused. While I acknowledge the fact that the Suna siblings aiding us, it still was a risk to even allow him to live. He could have continued his onslaught against the shinobi of the Hidden Leaf. He could have been trained. Gaara could be just using Naruto's naive weakness to his advantage should they fight once more. The advisor of Konoha spoke. Hokage-sama, you have two decisions. Either you banish this boy from the fire country, never to return here. Or you could execute him and bring his head to the daimyo, because he demands results of the trial, one way or another. Kaharu pitched in. Tsunade stood silent. Rather take the chance of banishing the only person that convinced her into taking the title in the first place. The feeling was unpleasant, viewing this as karma for abandoning her home. Go ahead then, banish me. Everyone turned to see Naruto with a broken yet calm demeanor. Naruto, you can't seriously abandon your hoe. Tsunade was cut off by Naruto as he gave her back her necklace. This hellhole is not my home, Tsunade-sama. Naruto said in a formal poster, shocking the slug Sanin since she's never heard this knucklehead speak in a cold yet painful tone. I am sorry that things have to end this way, Ba-chan, but I guess my dream of becoming Hokage was never meant to be. He spoke in a heartfelt tone, showing the eyes of a child pleading for his life to end, yet was overwhelmed by the amount of will to keep going further. You were never even going to become Hokage to begin with, demon. The fire daimyo personally made sure of that. Danzo said, trying to break the boy's mind further for his plans to come into fruition. Please grant me my wish. Naruto said, not bothered by the comment that was spoken. Tsunade held her tears as she spoke the words that she will no doubt haunt her dreams. Uzumaki Naruto, she said with an authoritative tone. It has come to the decision of myself, due to your past actions regarding your methods of bringing back the Uchiha in wounds that could have resulted him into his death. You are hereby banished from Konoha. Tsunade said as she was ready to cry at any moment but continued. You have 2 days to pack your belongings. If you don't leave within the time period, then you will be forced out by the Anbu. She said as she reached her hand out. I will need your headband, please. She barely said in hesitation, to which Naruto did so. I'm glad to see justice was served. Homura said, earning the glares of most of the clan heads while Hiashi sat silently. This meeting is adjourned, she said with anger as she left while the civilian council cheered that the demon is finally getting what's coming to him, not knowing the untold consequences that it could bring to the village. But also their very fates. Flashback, day before his leave. Naruto was sitting atop of the Hokage monument, pondering on what he shall do for the long run. Sure, he could try to make a peaceful living in the Wave Country. Maybe help out Inari along with any others who are willing to learn to be a shinobi or guardians in order to protect their home from people like Gato. Or maybe join Suna, since Gaara would mostly likely be thrilled that his first friend is staying in Suna. Maybe actually get proper training than that scarecrow of a sensei actually showed for it. Maybe act as a bodyguard for the spring daimyo Koyuki, since she is still grateful for the blonde genin for saving her life and freeing her and her country from an infinite blizzard. She would love to have him stay in the land of snow. Maybe help out with new innovations with machinery, since the knucklehead does surprisingly have a thing or two about new technology. And unknowingly to Naruto after the incident, Koyuki did indeed develop feelings for the blonde genin for both his selfless deeds and his bravery to protect others above himself. However, all three options have one major flaw. He will be known by not only other shinobi villages, but also other daimyos, not only making himself as a target, but also the place he resided, making it harder to find a good place to settle in. His thoughts were interrupted when he sensed a presence behind him. He turned around only to receive a tight embrace from Tsunade, Shizune, and surprisingly, Hinata. "Hey guys," he said in a sad tone. "I'm sorry Naruto, I wish I could have done more to prevent this order from happening, but those damned snakes played behind my back. Now I'll never spend time with my godson," Tsunade said as she started to cry. Her godson, despite having plans to make sure he was treated right in this village, went down the drain thanks to some hate-filled councilman. "We'll miss you Naruto, despite what others will say or do. We'll always remember you as our favorite knucklehead," said Shizune as she ruffled his hair, causing him to chuckle, giving him a warm feeling that he's been longing for since he was born. Love. The trio broke from the hug, only for Hinata to move close to him and did the most unexpected thing that no one has done. She grabbed Naruto's cheeks and kissed him deeply. This shocked Naruto greatly, only for to melt and return the kiss with great earnest. What lasted for seconds felt like a lifetime he wished lasted for eternity. But sadly all good things come to an end. They broke the makeout session only for Hinata to speak after she caught enough air. "I know this is unexpected, especially after everything you've been through. Just know Naruto-kun, I had feelings for you since we've met, and although I prefer to keep you for myself, I could tell that certain Konoichi have feelings for you too. I shall cherish you in my heart for as long as I live and live knowing that you love me too," whispered Hinata with a blush as red as an apple. She continued. "I'm sorry for hiding this for so long Naruto-kun, but I just couldn't bring myself to tell you right away during the academy. If it wasn't for Tsunade-sama and Shizune-san, I would have still kept my feelings towards you hidden until you noticed," she said sadly while lower her head down in shame, only to receive a loving embrace and being picked up and received a lover's kiss by Naruto himself. This made Hinata wide-eyed but slowly shot them and enjoyed the moment and returned it along with the hug with great earnest. Both reluctantly broke apart, breathing heavily, only for Naruto to speak. "I understand Hinata-chan." He pecked her on the cheek, which caused the shy Hyuga to blush but smile, while Naruto continued. "While this is a surprise, I'm open to the receive and return your love tenfold. While I may leave this place, always know that you will now hold a place inside my heart that can never be taken away, along with any and everyone that's in it, believe it," he exclaimed but whispered in her ear. "However, the downside of you telling me now is that there are now other them who shared their love with me. I'm sorry Hitana," he finished whispering, causing Hinata to nod in understanding, blaming herself for being too cowardly to act on her feelings. "I accept my punishment, to share you with whoever holds your love, but that doesn't mean that I will abandon you," she said, returning her lips to his, solidifying her love that she want, no need, but also know that she can share him with two people, and maybe more because she know how both Konoichi felt and still do. Referring to a certain brunette with two Chinese-style buns tied by her hair with an extensive knowledge of weaponry, and a certain Suna Kunoichi with her hair tied by 4 pigtails with an expert use of a wind affinity. After the events of the Chunin exams, these two thought that he was gonna lose, however they were proven wrong after the defeat of Neji Hyuga. They of course felt a mix of emotions, ranging from complete shock to developing crush with the so-called dead last of Konoha. Naturally they thought their internal conflicts were temporarily, until the defeat of Gaara. This cemented their love for the grinning blonde, showing not only his tenacity to never give up, his pride to protect and defend others, but also showing compassion to those who have dealt with pain that he endured but can relate to, who not only changed Gaara, but put him in the right direction to begin anew. While Naruto was not expecting compensation regardless of the heat of the moment, he was received a kiss on the cheek by Temari, thanking him for changing her little brother despite everything he'd been through, and another kiss on the cheek by Tenten for saving her life twice during the Forest of Death and the rescue from Shukaku. The two females glared each other for a brief moment due to their past encounter during the exams and now kissing their savior, hero. Their stares were interrupted when Naruto hugged them both via one arm for each, breaking down knowing he gained some form of acknowledgement since the Wave Country. The girls not only felt sympathy but also love towards him, seeing his blue eyes that shows conflict, made an agreement to put past events aside and care for Naruto. They of course shook hands and giggled a bit, know what the future of this potential harem will be. Naruto, his thoughts were interrupted when Tsunade spoke to him in an important tone. "Before you leave, you are going to receive your inheritance. Something that my sensei should have told you about but decided not to due to reasons you and I know, she said, referring to the pathetic council. Follow me, we only have until tomorrow. Also I'll tell the whole village once you leave to not only see the look on their faces but to take a photo of it and remember it until I step down. She said, laughing evilly. End of flashback. After that exchange, Naruto now have been informed of who his parents were. He couldn't believe he is the son of the red habanero, Kushina Uzumaki, and the yellow flash, Minato Namikaze, himself. Sure, he was happy that he will at least leave knowing who his parents are. But at the same time angry for being put in the position that he had no say to begin with, didn't even bother putting some kind of contingency to help him throughout his lifetime. Then again, he was born during the events so nothing could have been established automatically. I'll sort my internal conflict when I'm out of this Kami-forsaken village, as he began to walk towards the gates. With his inheritance scrolls inside his backpack, he could hear the villagers celebrating early. Glad that the stupid demon is finally punished for his sins. He can finally rot along with whatever whore parents that brought him into our world. I hope he rots in hell for his crimes. Insult after insult until he reached the gate only to see the Sand siblings and Konoha 12, minus Sasuke and Sakura, giving him last time embraces, and in trio of girls' case, a lover's kiss and embrace, causing him to return it, making them to blush and smile at the same time. Gaara informed Naruto that he will let Suna know and to extent every nation about this, regardless of what the blonde knucklehead had to say. Naturally Naruto is grateful, hugged his now brother in arms and promised he will see them again one day. About far off, Kakashi was watching, not bothering to say goodbye for reasons he already know but did not touch on for his personal ego. In the outside, he was sad to see his student get banished for doing what Kakashi's father did. But on the inside, he was happy. Happy that he can now focus on training his best student, the student that he claimed to the other senseis that he can change the world for the better, claiming that the dead last will always be beneath anyone or anything in the grand scene of things. Clearly that decision shall be paid back in more ways than one. Unknown to the rest of the village, two figures were watching from afar on the rooftops, examining the events unfolding. One was wearing what looks to be a mix of samurai and traditional shinobi attire dating back to its original word of a shinobi, while wearing a demon mask with a small black cape with twin mountains and a circle as a crest covering his katana and tanto with white wrappings as the grip strapped by his hip, while having a kodachi strapped behind his right side of his back, ghost armor in black dye. The second figure looks to wear an outfit similar to a ronin but tattered and torn to what looks like scratches from previous battles, having a cape made of wheat and dead grass, almost resembling a scarecrow, along with a straw hat that goes with such a worn-out attire, having equipped with just a katana with a black cloth as wrappings for the grip, however has what appears to have a fox running down the grip of the katana. Deadly Rival's attire. Looks to me that we have found the boy, and here I thought our spies were exaggerating info. I stand corrected, said the demon-masked figure. Indeed, my friend, Arjita will be most pleased at this development. I sense him too, having so much potential to grow as warrior and as a shinobi too. The second figure said as he chucked and continued. Can I train him first though? As much as I would love for him to train in the shinobi arts, I want to spend time with the little Gaki, train him to learn and master the sword, he said with a grin and glee in his eyes, finally having someone worthy of upholding the weight and technique of a kensai. That all depends on Arjita, you know that as much as I do, said the demon mask shinobi. Agreed, although we also must account for this Danzo Shimura. We both know he is not worthy of the title Shimura, especially if our sources from our spies that gathered are indeed true of all the atrocities he committed for the so-called good of Konoha, said the Ronin, spatting the statement with venom, using such excuses to commit crimes that are considered inhuman as a crime punishable by death brought by the kami himself. We'll deal with this Danzo at a later time, for now we must find a way for the boy to reach our homeland, and I have a plan. He turned towards the Ronin. Yuzo, I need to cause a distraction. I must negotiate with this Hokage of the Hidden Leaf with a deal. The Ronin, now named Yuzo, sighed and gave him a light punch to his right arm. You better not cause trouble like you did back in the Mist Village. Yagura pales in comparison to this mission, and we both know how that went. Even if I was enjoying that fight way too much to my liking, you started that in the first place. Yuzo said as we went back to memory lane, reminiscing and enjoying the fight with the three-tailed Jinchuriki. Nevertheless, begin your part. Once you finish, inform Lord Shimura of this development. Have our spies focus on Konoha. I have a feeling they have a lot of secrets we could use to our advantage," replied the demon-masked ninja. "Alright Jin, just come back in one piece. Also don't pull a stand and fight stance. I do not want to pull you out again," Yuzo said as he shuzzled away, leaving a grinning Jin Sakai to body flicker to his destination. With Yuzo was walking aimlessly at where appears to be a town square, an area that is most populated with civilians and shinobi alike, crowds celebrating early, knowing that the so-called QB brat, or demon fox, no longer resides in their eyes, the most perfect and impenetrable hidden village in all the 5 nations. Naturally, this boils Yuzo's blood. Having to deal with such neglect and abuse from these same people since birth reminds him somewhat of his early years, or at least during the time when he faced off against his friend Jin during the summer tournament hosted by Lord Nagao. Eager to show his worth that he is indeed worthy to become recognized as a samurai, he invites all prominent and prestigious clan heads of his homeland to show them his skill in order to be a part of something bigger than just himself. However, his desires, his hard work were crushed when his friend beat him, showing greater skill than he could ever hope to be. All the eyes, all the praise, goes straight to the Jita's nephew. And where does Yuzo end up? Nothing, not even a single word of recognition, only from the victor, childhood friend. So he left that day to join the Straw Hat Ronin, somewhat leading them by salvaging food from lakes or open grasslands. It burned him for a time until he started to enjoy such moments. While he did enjoy leading and caring for his Straw Hat faction, he did also enjoy learning their ways of refined swordsmanship and kenjutsu fighting styles while not neglecting unarmed combat which suits their elemental manipulation. Teaching the ways of how to adapt and survive, he will never forget the words one of his masters taught him, one who enjoyed the simple things in life and a love for tea. Failure is only an opportunity to begin again. While it is always best to believe in oneself, a little help from others can be a great blessing. Those same words still ring every time he resolves himself and others. Yuzo always viewed that man as an uncle he never had, the very most, a father figure towards him and his Ronin brothers. That's how the Straw Hat Ronin, while not samurai, still carry their samurai ideals and help those in need regardless of such payments, only for honor. Kojira and my masters would have loved to raise you young Gaki, Yuzo thought as he reminisced the fun memories his brothers had during his Ronin adventures. Even more fun when he can potentially train the little blonde and have even more fun in the Hiyoshi Springs, or bugging other clans such as Adaki or Nagao. His thoughts were put on hold in order to begin the plan. He grabbed a gourd from a random villager who was about to drink his ass off, went up to what looks to be a stage of some sorts, no doubt having some high-class musicians beginning to play some demon-slandering music. He simply pushed the announcer off the stage and used a Batojutsu strike to cut all instruments, causing everyone to turn towards the disturbance. He casually walked towards the microphone and spoke in a casual tone, receiving odd looks from the civilian populace. "To all you idiots and so-called shinobi of the Hidden Leaf," he said in a condescending manner, "I am Yuzo, apprentice of Kojira, hereby challenge any idiot who claims to be worthy of having the wool of fire into a fight. A simple one-on-one if you wish unless I get bored," he said as he reaches for what looks to be a bag to what looks to be a shit ton of currency. He tosses it up in the air, only to land in front of it, opening it, showing what looks to be trinkets of gold, diamonds, and ryo. This piqued both civilians and shinobi alike, especially some in the Anbu ranks that are off-duty. He continued, "I'm willing to risk my life for my fortune over the past years, and I heard that Konoha has a fair share of strong shinobi and warriors alike. Although I am disappointed that the so-called QB brat is gone. He would have surely earned this bag despite being labeled dead last of all things," he stated with a smirk of anticipation waiting for the response. This shocked, intrigued but also enraged the onlookers who were listening to his proposal. Hearing that his random nobody claimed that a disgrace would easily hurt the pride of those present, one Chunin had the ego and balls to speak up. "Hey idiot, if you really want to fight then come on, I'll show you that I'm far more superior than that demon disgrace of a shinobi," said the Chunin arrogantly stepping to the stage. "Hell, you know what? Why are you stepping up? Everybody knows samurai and ronin are no match for shinobi of any rank. that katana won't save you when we got jutsus, you country boar of a baka. He stated, and he and the crowd began to laugh at this Ronin due to having the balls to oppose those who are better than him. Yuzo smirked. You know what, since you bring up a very good point, let me change a rule. How about I take on everybody who dares to challenge me, everyone against little old me? He said lazily as he gestured any and everyone worthy of challenging him to come at me. The Chunin, along with 4 others, moved with respected speed, moving to kill this lowlife and claim their rightful prize. Yuzo Simple stood still, his right arm ready to sheath his katana, waiting for the right moment. The Chunin charged, his kunai on the right hand, raising it to strike, aiming for the head, was at striking distance then. Slash! Everyone froze as they see the once prideful Chunin reduced to a screaming banshee holding his right arm as it was decapitated with a single simple strike, holding it in pain and desperation. The 4 were shocked beyond belief. 3 snapped out of it and went for the kill, hopefully avenging their comrade and claiming the bag of valuables for themselves. Yuzo simply resheathed his katana and closed his eyes and spoke. Shinobuto. Chimate Takina Hoyo. Dance of Death. Lethal Embrace. As he moved with tremendous speed, striking each opponent with a lethal strike to their weak limbs, disabling them from continuing their shinobi careers. The last Chunin witnessed the horrors that one man demonstrated. A Ronin, no, a former samurai, just took out 4 Chunin with individual strikes. Close combat was out of the window, so he decided to make hand signs and cried out. Mizu no Sutairu. Mizu no Dongan, water style, water bullet. He breathed and released a bullet of water through his mouth, hoping to at least hit him with this shot, if not kill him. Yuzo smirked and cooked his katana back, holding the grip with 2 hands, firmly placing his right foot back and left foot forward, and spoke. Tengoku no Sutareki, heavenly strike. He moved with lightning speed and thrusted his blade from the right side of his body, cutting not only through the bullet, but also the last Chunin himself, having a horizontal cut from right to left, resulting in a cut in half, Chunin collapsing, lying trying to call for help, only to get his heart stabbed by the same blade he got cut in half by, ending his life. The crowd were in fear, so much so, that one Anbu who was off duty enjoying the festivities, demand all units to apprehend, if not end this Ronin, mostly capture for interrogation to Inochi, hoping to gain much information about his fighting styles and technique to add to the Anbu's Kenjutsu arsenal. Yuzo, while sensing more shinobi and Anbus heading towards his direction, decided to play with some of his food, grabbing his hard-earned fortune, and spoke in a childish yet serious tone that would make some having chills down their spine. If you really want me so bad, then come and get me. He yelled, and he jumped from rooftop to rooftop, attracting more shinobi on the way. Oh, how I love it when distractions go my way. Yuzo, though, as he ran away from his hunters. With Jin was watching as everything went down. He thought how Yuzo was gonna get himself killed these days, but knows he's dealt through worse. He put those thoughts aside and snuck into the Hokage office, observing the Hokage for a while doing tedious paperwork. An Anbu appeared and informed the situation. Danzo, while present, had issued the order on the best Anbu Konoha has on this threat, knowing he sent his root agents to capture and force him to join him for further use. She agreed, already knowing that he's sending his not-so-secret organization just to get them killed. Both the Anbu and Danzo left the office. Things were quiet until she got sick of it and acknowledged her uninvited guest. If you're going to stare at me while doing this crap, at least give me an excuse to not do paperwork, she said in an almost authoritative tone. I'll be honest, I almost didn't sense you there until I heard the tiniest of creaks, she said, as she got up and got to a fighting stance. Jin, while amused, decided to show himself, jumping off the ceiling supports and landed gracefully on the ground. Relax, Hokage-sama, I'm not here to fight you, I am here with a proposal. He stated with tone sounding that his words carried truth, and bowed respectfully. I am here to take Naruto away from these so-called elemental nations, and take him to my homeland of Japan. There he will not only be trained in our arts to ensure that he is a strong warrior both in samurai and shinobi standards, but also get what he was robbed in the first place, a family that cares for him. Proposed Jin, with a hint of sadness, knowing it's hard to live with the fact that both parents died at an early age. If it wasn't for his uncle and those around him caring for young Jin, he could have most likely ended up dead in the first place. Tsunade, while listening, was intrigued to the offer, still have doubts, sure she wants what's best for her son, but does not trust this random foreigner from out of nowhere. She broke the silence. First I want questions answered. Who are you and what is it that you want with Naruto? She demanded, not wanting to give any information to a stranger without knowing some answers. Jin, being unwavering towards the slug Sanin, he spoke. My uncle, Lord Shimura, was once a great friend to Naruto's father. They were both like me and my friend that's causing ruckus right now. They have grown up together, fought together side by side, grew stronger and adapted together through warfare alone. However, something called to him that made Minato go south, towards the element nations. Jin said, letting the information sink in for the Godem Hokage as he spoke once more. He spoke that, fate has a place for him, it's calling him to make a living there. Naturally, it broke my uncle. His only true rival left to pursuing his own ambitions but accepted it. The foreign shinobi said, allowing Suande to process the knowledge before continuing. Knowing that at least he's writing his own story, not expecting to take the same road his ancestors took just because they followed outdated tradition. Jin said, and both he and Tsunade chuckled together, being told similar things in their lives. Shortly after Naruto's birth, Lord Shimura was informed that a fox that's the size of Mount Fuji was spotted by one of our spies hidden to ensure that Minato or any close ones were safe. However, when word reached out that he was considered a demon, we were baffled to say the least. Jin said, which piqued some form of interest from Tsunade. Would you kindly explain to why? She said almost dangerously, not wanting to let this person insult her godson. Those demons, you claim them to be never originated here, they belong to us. And they were stolen by your kind. He stated bluntly. And to answer your first question, my name is Jin Sakai, head of Clan Sakai, right-hand clan to my uncle named Saito Shimura Jita of Clan Shimura, the clan leading Tsushima. He said in a formal tone. Others know me as the ghost of Tsushima, the first shinobi, he stated respectfully. While yes, there were more ninja clans like Iga and Koga, they were not united clans, let alone a shinobi village that can operate in unison. That's why Jin sent envoys to resolve disputes between the clans. Through long talks and some disagreements, both put their differences aside and agreed to not only protect their homeland but to also teach the eager next generation their ninja, shinobi ways. Starting with Tsushima, thus making Tsushima the first shinobi village, or in this case, the shinobi nation. Tsunade was shocked. This changed everything from a philosophical and detailed standpoint, which prompted her to ask with caution. If what you say is true, then how is it that they were brought here to begin with? Almost yelled Tsunade. Thank Kami I placed some privacy and soundproof seals, thought both Jin and Tsunade. Jin pulled out documents, throwing them towards the table, gesturing her to read them. You can thank your loyal and prestigious clan of your Hokage-sama. She read the documents, rereading to ensure she did not miss any slight details. What she read shook her to the core. Turns out before Madara attacked Hashirama, Madara had these tailed beasts token during his small trips, using his M's to ensure all memories of their previous lifetimes were gone and forgotten. How the Bijus are known as intelligent but savage demons by the Uchiha ghost, Madara. Before I show you what you're about to see, remember to keep this a secret. The last thing I need right now is for this Danzo Shimura to plant spy networks in my land. He demanded, to which Tsunade nodded since she too did not like the old warhawk by any means. But what happened was unexpected. Her eyes nearly popped out of her head. Two spirit-like ghosts appeared next to Jin. One was clearly a giant Oni demon with red skin, and traditional crimson-red samurai armor with a metal kanabo ready to fight to the death. The second figure is by contrast, a blue dragon, right eye being golden and the left eye being red, having blue scales, and oddly enough, a chain going around its body, almost as to show it's some kind of weapon to use similar to its tail. Tsunade noticed the aura of both wind and lighting emanating from the ancient beast. No words need to be spoken, only action as the two dove into Tsunade's head, giving her the understanding of Jinna philosophy and how his way of growing in every adaptive homeland changes throughout the years. How things for the people in yokai walk the same streets, how big demon-like weasels with scythe-like blades attached to its limbs are assisting humans chopping down and collecting wood to build new innovative and enduring houses. How an imposing demon with purple skin and horns with two swords with resemblance to fire and lighting elements, while the sword he wields also resembles the water element, while he commands army of loyal yokai to defend its home from outland invaders. How that demon leader and the shogun shook hands, agreeing that both sides shall look out for one another despite the differences of both ways. Lastly shows a warrior who has the strength to carry a kanabo-like club and a giant gourd with red rope tied to it, assisting a group of humans training to have the strength necessary to wield the most heaviest Japanese weapons. While making them understand the fundamentals of life, Tsunade came out of the flood of memory lane, only to see the same two ghosts stood beside her, nodding and disappearing. Before she could ask, Jin explained. They are called guardian spurts. They allow to show the potential host memories of both past lifetimes and the previous host's memories. They still reside in me. I just gave you a quick rundown to how things operate in my homeland, Jin said, to which Tsunade thanking Kami for such a weird yet enjoyable day without paperwork. Alright Jin, I'll agree. I also have a plan to not only help him out but to help your people out also in terms of having a form of energy in case you guys. Before she can continue, Jin chuckled a bit, amused but grateful of the proposal of getting knowledge. While I appreciate your friendly gesture of learning this so-called chakra, we have our only way of energy. It's called ki, or kai. It's similar but way denser and much more efficient. Dying from energy exhaustion is out of the question. It helps us get aquatinted to new skills. It strengthens the body through meditation, training and focus. But the most big difference is that it allows us to manipulate the elements through body movements of martial arts. Explained the ghost of Tsushima, to which Tsunade became curious but did not want to press further. We have people who are masters in their craft, and expect them teaching Naruto the same, said Jin, recalling such physical and mental training in order to pass such dangerous trials. That goes for all samurai. Take the quote. The strongest is only as good as the weakest, to heart. Ensuring anyone who is willing to continue must go all the way. Very well Jin Sakai. I shall send a message to Naruto stating that a boat will be heading towards a new home for him, said Tsunade with tears starting to flow down, knowing that she will never see her Gaki, only for her to receive a scroll detailing a technique. This is the Instanto Soshin technique. It allows the person to instantly teleport to his or her location by detecting their energy source. But either way, do not worry Hokage-sama. I, along with my friends and family, will treat him as family. It's the least I can do for my surrogate nephew, he stated, only to receive a bone-crushing hug from the busty blonde. While he may be composed by nature, he still blushed red due to her assets and that she indeed is a beautiful woman, despite not knowing she was a bit old. Tsunade. She responds, my name is Tsunade Senju, daughter of Hashirama Senju, and it's an honor meeting you Jin, and thank you for your generosity towards him. She spoke softly, crying her eyes out. It's no problem Tsunade-san, now if you'll excuse me. He broke the hug and broke the window, much to Tsunade's confusion until she heard him speak. You might want to brace yourself, he said cheekily as he focused his kai throughout his body. What happened next shocked the slug Sanin as the ghost of Tsushima forced all his killer intent to the entire village, causing everyone to stop at the mere pressure of such power, as if Kami cursed them with terrible omens, like time itself deemed it. Like the QB returned and seeks vengeance from the dead. This pressure, it's unbearable, thought every citizen before passing out or collapsed from the sheer killer intent. To think he carries so much to achieve such a feat must mean he's more stronger than I thought Tsunade, as she experienced such killer intent before from people such as Orochimaru and her sensei herself, but never has she dealt with a scale this big to affect an village such as Konoha. He stopped the Ki and turned to the Hokage. Well, it's nice both knowing and speaking to you Lady Tsunade. And please, do get that technique down so you can come visit. I can show you where a cherry blossom tree is located at. He spoke with a smile on his face before he body flickered towards his surrogate brother. Tsunade looked and examined the scroll, opened the scroll, only for a second small scroll, showing an overview of the Japan and a note attached to it. She read the note and another note detailing where for the boy to go. If you cannot master the technique, then I'll give you a map to where our island is at, and to an extent Japan. It will be a long journey by your standards, but it's well worth it. While Japan itself is a beautiful country, Tsushima holds the title for most regarded as majestic. Hope to see you again, Lady Senju. Jin Sakai. I will Jin Sakai, I will. She thought with a smile on her face, with a slight blush, as she began reading the plan. with Yuzo. About time was starting to get boring, thought Yuzo as he finished off the last of the so-called elite root Anbu. And took one last look at his area, seeing corpses of dead roots, limbs, arms and even heads lying around. Strongest village my ass, these are supposed to be the most skilled? How pathetic, Yuzo thought as he was walking through the gates, ignoring the stares of fear and anticipation, hoping to not fall in the hands of the demon in human form. Before he was about to leave, he was stopped by what is now newly dubbed Konoha 11. Great, what do I get for my desire for a good fight? A bunch of kids, he said amused, almost burst out laughing at the mere audacity of claiming this group would be the strongest. Naturally this now made the group sheath a bit of anger, some better kept cool than others. Well except a certain pink-haired banshee with a pink half-dress, a black-haired boy who has a hairstyle of a duck butt, and a platinum blonde with a purple outfit. Both stepping towards him saying they will end this weakling from this world, not paying mind to the previous carnage in the background. Hey idiot, whoever you are, you might as well give up, you're clearly no match for elite to begin with, let alone the loyal Uchiha like myself. Boasted Sasuke, with a smirk of arrogance, thinking that those who died behind that Ronin were clearly inferior to the likes of himself. Which prompted Sakura to speak. Yeah you bum, I mean look at you. You look like a homeless person. You probably act like one, so no surprise that you would try something against our great village. I bet Sasuke-kun would easily beat you without his Sharingan. Yelled Sakura with admiration. Oh how high they have fallen. Ino, on the other hand, had better composure towards the situation. Ever since the retrieval mission, she realized that she has not only been slacking on her ninja career, but also realized she had been competing for the wrong boy. Just some petty competition against her now former best friend turned traitor lover. After that, she vowed to herself inwardly that she would make up for it by apologizing to that blonde that, in her eyes and maybe the rest of the members of Konoha 11, took his ninja career seriously by completing the mission, but also show that no matter what, that Naruto Uzumaki never goes back on his word. She put those thoughts aside and spoke. As much as I would love for you to leave, you're coming with us to the Hokage Tower for questioning. Best for you to comply, or things. She and the rest of her group got into a fighting stance. Will get ugly. Before Yuzo could show these kids what a warrior truly is, Jin appeared out of nowhere next to Yuzo, tapping his shoulder. Having fun yet, brother? He asked amused with a grin while Yuzo looked annoyed. Come on, he whined, just 5 more minutes? At least let me pick one to fight. He pleaded, almost sounding like a child wanting another rice cake for dessert. Jin, while wanting to leave, also has a fighting itch to scratch. Fine. No more than 5, I don't want to hear you complaining about not enough challenge until we get back, he stated. Let's see who's worthy of fighting is the question. He turned towards the group and scanned for potential opponents, until he stared at a certain green spandex wearing shinobi. You, bushy eyebrows. Jin pointed at Rock Lee, while Rock Lee looked shocked, was soon followed by excitement. I wish to fight you, while my brother may go hard on that arrogant Gaki, and believe me, I would too if he hadn't showed that much arrogance. Which the group agreed since they did get sick of the last Uchiha this and, strongest Uchiha, that and, the next Itachi, that. Jin continued, I can also sense you are indeed strong, stronger than people give you credit for, and while you are indeed lack any form of ninjutsu, you make it up in taijutsu, so please let us have a duel. The ghost of Tsushima respectfully asked. This caused Rock Lee to spoke, although exciting. I may be a shinobi, but I will never back away from a challenge. I accept your request in the honor of youth. He exclaimed, moving his left hand back while his right hand opened and pointed forward. The rest of Konoha 11, except Sasuke and Sakura, fighting Yuzo, were dumbfounded, until Kiba yelled out. Hey, out of all of us, you pick him? Why not us? We are clan heirs, yet you look down on us. If anything we should. He was interrupted when an immense pressure came crashing down. Jin once again released a portion of killer intent towards the group of children, all the while Yuzo was grinning while effortlessly dodged and redirected attacks with little difficulty. Jin was also examining the group and finally spoke. Why I look down on you, clan heirs? Well, it's simple. Let's start off with you. He pointed at Kiba, the Inuzuka heir hallucinating abbot, as he saw ghosts of past men ready to end his life. You are hot-headed and like that Uchiha, arrogant and one-sided, which could lead to being easily provoked. making yourself wide open for hidden attacks and lured into a trap that you would likely not live to tell about. He turned towards the Hyuga prodigy. You claim to have fate on your side yet paid the price for claiming that fate decrees that you are weak. Therefore you will forever be weak, not to mention your lack of fighting style, thinking that training with one style will always succeed. He turned to Shikamaru Amd Choji. Do I really need to explain, or are you too good? He asked sarcastically. Nope. They both replied smartly, while Choji continued eating chips while the lazy Nara complained. What a drag. Good. Jin stated while grinning, then turned to Shino. What about you, bug boy? He asked, his aura causing the bugs to be intimidated. It's logical that I must respond no, since you and I both know my flaws when it comes to using insects can be a sense of self. Over-reliance on bugs will be a benefactor for my potential downfall. Shino replied logically but with a hint of fear. Jin simply nodded and turned and stared at the Hinata. While I sense small amounts of confidence, you need to draw it out sooner than later. Shinobi are not supposed to hesitate under any circumstances. The world, especially the shinobi world, is a place of pain and anguish. Only the brave and the bold can handle the outskirts, and only the strong-willed can not only hold themselves together but keep pushing to their ambitions. He stated towards Hinata. Jin also pointed out that she too needs to expand her overall knowledge on both Tai and ninjutsu. He now turned towards Tenten and Ino, but began with Tenten. I can see the fire in your eyes that you indeed wish to become strong, but focusing your time on weapons isn't always the best. While I was observing a certain someone, I was also observing some matches, and while you did do your best, you still fall short, and do you know why? Asked Jin while the weapons mistress looked down in shame, already knowing the answer, so she responded. Because I rely on just weapons, Shinobi-sama. Making myself very predictable, and if facing foes who are familiar to me can come up with ingenious plans to disable me from my storage scrolls. She answered shakily, however was relieved when she heard his words. Correct, however I would advise you and the Hyuga girl to train under your idol. Who was it you yelled out again? A lady by the name of Tsunade Senju? He asked casually, which made Tenten and Hinata's eyes widen but lit fire, thinking of one of the most greatest opportunities a kunoichi could ask for. You really mean it? Both Hinata and Tenten asked shakily, both nervous to take up such an opportunity in their life. Jin simply chuckled and put his hands on each of their shoulders and smiled. You both have the potential to reach great heights, just keep moving forward, Jin told them, but continue. Tell her that the first shinobi sent you too, she'll understand. Besides, I'm pretty sure a certain blonde knucklehead would love to see you two grow as actual shinobi. He assured them, making their confidence themselves rise and ready to take up the challenge. He then focused his attention to the last three, two of them still getting manhandled like little children, while Ino was just staring at how far the mighty Uchiha has fallen. Blondie, she heard, turning her head to see Jin narrowing his eyes to her. While I sense some form of turmoil and having doubts on your so-called crush, you shouldn't have focused all your time to begin with, especially since you have a legacy to uphold when it comes to being clan heiress. If you were a clan heiress in my land, you would have been beaten, berated, and made you as an example to not be when it comes to becoming a shinobi. Jin stopped, letting his words hit Ino before continuing. You completely focused on yourself based on looks alone. Remember how I mentioned to the panda head that I have been observing some matches during the Chunin exams? He questioned, to which she nodded, but looked down in shame, knowing what's about to be said. Well, that was a disappointment. He yelled, leaking a small bout of killer intent, which made almost everyone stood still but continued, his anger becoming evident. Never in my years of shinobi training have I seen such pathetic excuse of ninja in my life. That fight itself with the pink banshee made me question if this really is the strongest village in these 5 great nations. If this village actually produced shinobi like yourself, then I'm certain if a group of small villages gathered and created their own land, they would have won and taken over this weak, arrogant, and disgraceful land without casualties. Jin stated, which broke Ino's outlook indefinitely. She knew everything that the demon-masked shinobi was indeed true. Focus on getting stronger, instead of chasing a baka who can't even acknowledge your existence just because of his petty pursuits of power. Focus on getting stronger for yourself. Prove to him that you don't need to get somebody's attention. Jin somewhat encouraged Ino to become strong-willed. If you can't do it for either yourself or me, at least do it for Naruto. Jin lastly stated, to which Ino gave a shocked yet questioned look, to which Jin clarified. While that knucklehead had to endure this pathetic village and their hate, did he complain? No. Did he complain about not getting special treatment? No. Did you notice all of the pain that Naruto has endured all his life? No. And do you know why, Blondie? Asked Jin, to which Ino shook her head. 2 reasons. 1, because he always has a smile on his face, hoping things could be different than the past, hoping he could one day make more friends than before, hoping to ask his friends to hang out, hoping to find that one somebody to spend the rest of his life with happy. The ghost said. Ino, not being able to respond, nodded, since it was indeed true. The second reason is very simple. You were chasing the crush you believed you wanted and ignored the one you deserved. Such a misconception on your part, Blondie. Jin finished his tirade to the blonde, noticing she has cheeks that resembles that of apples. However, did not go unnoticed by a certain Hyuga heiress, and a weapons girl looked concerned but took note of that since they were aware of how she treated Naruto back then. This will definitely be enjoying after all. Hey, both thought while snickering to themselves. Yuzo decided it was time and hit both pressure points around their body, allowing them to be frozen in place, and stood next to Jin with a grin on his face. Jin sighed but responded, "Go fight Bruce Lee over there." He pointed towards Rock Lee. "As much as I would love to test his abilities, I want to see if I can get through them," he said, already knowing he results to such time-wasting beratings. "Taijutsu only. If he gives you a challenge, I'll give him a gift," finished Jin with a slight smile behind his ghost mask. Yuzo took a moment before realizing what he was saying, to which made his eyes widen before narrowing towards Jin. "Are you sure he's worthy of it, Jin?" asked Yuzo with skepticism in his voice. Jin replied with confidence, "Yes. You and I both know he reminds me of our sensei," he stated with a smile. Both remembered the harsh yet rewarding training sessions which involved not only bettering themselves but also building relations with the people and aiding them with renovations on both digging and farm work. "Very well, but who said I'm going easy on him?" Yuzo asked, amused, as he walked towards Rock Lee. "While my brother over there is giving a scolding to those excuses, it just leaves me and you, Lee. Please give me what those 2 bakas could not, a fight," he said, and Yuzo pointed his left arm up while his right arm resting but ready on his left arm muscle, revealing what looks like a perfect form of Wing Chun. "You're not the only one who has been working on taijutsu." As he charged at Lee, when Lee did the same, both clashed, both fists connected to each other, causing a shockwave throughout the gates. They soon got locked into a full-out fight, each trying to gain ground, actively attempting to predict one another. Yuzo smirked, despite holding back to enjoy such moments. This disabled kid can keep up and come to par with himself. Rock Lee found his opportunity and swiped his Yuzo's legs, following that up with a side flip kick to his gut. The attack hit, pushing Yuzo back and landing on the ground. Using his momentum, Yuzo used his free arm to redirect himself towards Lee, kicking him straight in the face in the process. Both onlookers are staring in awe. Being shown just display of skill and precision only battle-hardened ninja were qualifying of doing. Yuzo, who was still enjoying such a fight since his battle with the 3-tailed Jinchuriki, knew it was time. "It's time, bushy brows," he said as he charged his final attack. "One final move, make it count," as he thrust his fist, having a coated white aura surrounding his arm. Lee agreed and went up and opened 4 gates, hoping this was enough, thinking to use the 5th gate at last minute in case things go bad. He thrusted himself forward and rocketed himself, hoping to hit him with leg rocketing towards his opponent. "Mugen no Ken, Limitless Fist," yelled Yuzo. "Ha no Hurricane, Leaf Hurricane," yelled Rock Lee. Both attacks collided, both shook the ground, almost causing an earthquake by the mere pressure, causing a great deal of smoke so dense that it makes foggy days seem clear. The smoke faded away and revealed to be a grand sight. Yuzo, while very bruised up, was still standing, holding an unconscious Lee towards Jin, who was done berating the last 2 bakas. Was standing there with what appears to be a glowing Yellowstone on his right hand. Yuzo spoke. "He's worthy, Jin, give him Kami's blessing," Yuzo stated with a hint of pride. Jin nodded and hovered the stone above Lee's forehead. Nothing happened for a moment until the stone started glowing, sparkles coming from the stone, what looks to be healing the unconscious boy, but also healing internally. The process finished and Lee began opening his eyes, only to see the stone glowing bright gold. Until Yuzo put him down and spoke. Congratulations Gaki, you proved yourself worthy of something after all. He spoke amused and with a grin. Best to go check on your local medic, you'll be in for a great surprise. He said and then turned to Jin. Let's go, we got something to deal with back home. He lazily said while Jin smiled, knowing his friend's antics to just go home already and watch cherry blossoms all way. Alright, the sooner we go home, the sooner I get to enjoy some squid sushi with a side of boar for dinner. Jin stated calmly but inwardly yelled out. Finally, in his head, although his thoughts were interrupted by an arrogant brat. Hey, aren't you gonna let us go? Exclaimed Sasuke as he was tied to a pole with reinforced rope while Sakura was trying to untie herself while Ino was holding in her laughter. While Jin was composed, earning a raised eyebrow. Nah, you guys got it, you're shinobi after all aren't you? He replied smugly before leaving this village, leaving an angry Uchiha and pink-haired Banshee to their business. Oh how fun today was for both men. The rooftops. While events were currently unfolded, 3 females were watching, not just any individuals, 2 of course had purple hair and had jobs working for the higher-ups. However one wore a trench coat cover her revealing figure while the other had Anbu gear with a ninjito strapped behind her, intrigued by both men. While one who has black wild hair with red eyes and a dress that resembles that of a mummy although has a light red-sleeved shirt under it. These of course were Kurenai Yuhi, Anko Mitarashi, and Yugo Izuki. I must say, that Yuzo fellow sure has my attention, especially his way of fighting, replied Anko, while licking her lips, although lightly being punched by Yugo. Hands off Anko, he's mine, I am very much intrigued of his sword style, those moves especially though. She stated although inwardly shivered in delight when thinking about doing such perfect technique. HMPH. Anko simply pouted then looked at Kurenai. What about you Kurenai? What about that ghost fellow? Think you'll be interested in him? Anko asked with a slutty grin on her face while Kurenai blushed a bit. He may seem formal and respectful but he is no Asuma. Maybe if they either fight to show a display of strength and add a nice date, then maybe. But for now, I'm fine, she stated though her mind was picking between either men. For now? So you haven't decided yet? Replied Anko with a look that just looks like malicious intent. Goodbye. That's all the Genjutsu mistress said before GTFOing out before getting berated with questions that involved bedtime sparring with the opposite gender while the other 2 to fight over who gets the Ronin warrior. Meanwhile on another set of rooftops. The trio were not the only stalkers in the area. 2 females, both with brown hair that almost resembles that of the color of chocolate. However the difference being is that one was at adulthood, her hair looking spiked out, almost resembles of a sea urchin, wearing a tight honing outfit showing her mature figure. While the second figure was basically a younger version of the other however had her hair tied on a ponytail, wearing a chunin vest with a tank top holding in her assets in place and wearing shorts that goes to her knees. These were of course Sume and Hana Inuzuka. My, how both men have their fair share of traits. Good looks, deadly aura, good with kids, and deadly skills. Who knew men like them still exist? Wondered Sume while licking her lips but also blushing sensing the imposing killer intent and aura to which made her shiver to delight. Hey, while I like the scarecrow, I would certainly like to get to know that first shinobi. Also you're right, those type of men still do exist, however they did not originate from any nation we are accustomed to. You smell it don't you mom? Asked Hannah since she was interested to which these newcomers came from. We'll settle this another time, however I'll let you choose first. Besides, I still am in my prime, so choose wisely, Sume said teasing her daughter to which she blushed a bit. I'll consider but we must report to Hokage-sama, told Hana as they both shushined away. With Jin and Yuzo. So Yuzo, did you notice you have a fan club already? Jin asked while he and Yuzo were jumping from tree to tree. Yes Jin, I know. I could say the same to you though. Although surprisingly that they didn't come up to me and ask for our names. I would have gladly used my charm. Casually responded Yuzo, with a smirk, knowing this isn't his first time in this situation and it won't be the last. Just saying the 2 purple heads are interested. Felt like they were gonna have a standoff, Jin said but chuckled at the end. Yuzo smiled. Reminds me of old times, although if they're open to it, but maybe or maybe not, I'm willing to share, he said. Best to ask them next time. He smirked and decided to jab him. Although next time wear better clothing than that scarecrow outfit of yours, Jin said amused. Yuzo frowned. Hey, my outfit shows some of my favorable traits, besides might as well have the female onlookers looking at me with hunger in their eyes. Besides, the sooner we get back the sooner I get home and buy myself some exquisite clothing. Here's hoping I find better options from my favorite merchant. Hell, maybe take a little detour in the Kii Sake brewery. Yuzo said, which made Jin chuckled. Kii Sake is the pride of Tsushima. Just don't go overboard. I remember the owner chased you out with a broom and a tanto in her hands. Heard you almost saw the Shinigami himself. He burst out laughing, remembering the chase that took place. Laugh it off while you're at it, but we're here. I see Yuna and Kenji there, along with Yamato. Let's get in the boat and change. I don't want our Gaki to ask too many questions until we arrive to Tsushima. He stated. True to his word, they arrived at a harbor where they both see a female with a dark red shirt with brown baggy pants and black combat boots. On the boat's deck we see a short-looking man with a dark blue merchant's outfit with a black straw hat sweeping up the floors. Finally we see sitting in the harbor to be a monk with traditional kimono with a light brown robe, wearing a prayer bead necklace around his neck, who's practicing and testing the chords of his shamisen. Yuna, what happened while we were away? Jin asked, a bit concerned. Yuna turned and made an innocent face. What do you mean, Jin? Asked Yuna casually. Jin simply pointed at Kenji sweeping the deck with his head down. Simple, Kenji was being a baka. Replied Yuna. This prompted Kenji to speak. Hey, it was a good idea at the time. Until you kinda bloated for me. Kenji said sheepishly. Alright, explain, asked Jin, knowing what antics his merchant friend can get himself into. That idiot decided to make some money by trying to sell his stash of bested town sake to onlookers for a quick coin. Naturally I thought it was a good thing considering we need money for supplies. Then? Jin asked, since he knew nothing came out good. Especially when it's Kenji of all people, Yuna continued. Then I found out that my stash of sake went missing, so I decided to ask Kenji for a drink just for giggles, since I see a lot of people actually buying them, until I found out he used my stash to use as free samples so he can sell off his sake. Yuna finished as both Jin and Yuzo burst out laughing, as Yamato chuckling under his breath since he too find that entertaining, remembering that beating Kenji received as punishment. Hey, I said I was going to pay you back once we get back to Izama Bay. I promised. Especially when I made a great amount of profit. He pleaded as he gestured towards a very large bag of Ryu. Yeah, and used my sake to get that amount. Shouted Yuna. I don't know if I should be proud or angry at you. I should be proud that my sake is actually that valuable in these parts. But on the other hand, that was still my sake, you idiot. She said as she bonked Kenji in the head, growing a limp in the process. Then she grabbed his ear and yelled out. How many times must I tell you, stay away from my sake? Her voice echoed through the nations. Meanwhile in Konoha, I felt a shift in the force of sake, as if a new power has emerged. A certain busty blonde thought as she took another swig of her favorite bottle of rice wine. Lady Tsunade, don't you think it isn't a good time to be drinking while at work? Asked Shizune. No, Tsunade exclaimed. Any time is always a good time to be drinking. She stated with pride as she lifted her bottle in the process. Back with the gang. Before Yuna could land another punch to the idiot swindler, Yuzo stepped in and offered her a gourd. Yuna with a questionable look and asked, "What's this?" "Just drink, Yuna," he simply stated, to which Yuna did. Moments later she felt refreshed and better from her tirade a while ago. "It may not be from my stash, but it's better than Kenji's sake," she said before letting out a smile. "Thank you, Yuzo. Where did you get this from?" asked Yuna. "Simple, I got it from an idiot," he stated happily with a grin. To which the group laughed at it while Kenji laughed nervously. "Alright Kenji, you're lucky he saved your ass. You're off the hook, but you still owe me," Yuna said, narrowing her eyes. "Of course Yuna." "Of course," he stated, nearly stuttering, knowing it's unwise to anger a woman with a demon-like attitude. That aside, Jin interrupted, to which caught the attention of everyone present. "Naruto will be on his way here. Yamato, please kindly greet him with your friend of yours?" Jin politely asked his monk friend. "With pleasure, I too wish for the boy to learn under Norio's teachings. Enjo would enjoy having him around. However, the question remains, which area will this Naruto be living at?" Asked Yamato, since he is curious to which province will be residing at. "Naruto will be staying in the Toyotama region. living in the Sakai estate to oversee his training, that and to have an excuse to get out of paperwork so he can watch over his surrogate nephew. Jin replied as he too wished to train the boy on his ways of shinobi arts, betting also that prominent heads of prestigious clans throughout Japan will too offer him special training. That is if Naruto himself passes through the trials in order to receive such training. Very well, once we set sail, I'll inform Lord Shimura of this development via messenger bird. I'll also inform Norio and Enjo's stay in Kushi Temple. Have the guardian monk be there as well. I want a rematch with that demon warrior. Informed Yuzo as we went inside the ship. I'll be taking a nap. He turned and looked at Kenji. Don't you dare pull any dead or aim. Bullshit. Got it, Gaki? He questioned as he gave the look of committing heinous acts. Kenji, while sweating bullets, quickly answered, of course Yuzo-san. I promise that I, Kenji of Azama, will stay out of trouble. As he quickly went to his room, ensuring to lock his door. Jin sighed and turned to Yuna. One of the things I like about you, Yuna, determined and strong. He said with a warm smile. Yuna, while blushing, spoke harshly. Don't get all soft on me, Baka. Until Naruto gets here, I'll be in a bad mood. She huffed while trying not to smile, knowing she'll be thirsty of her favorite formula of sake for the duration of the trip, until she felt arms wrapped around her and Jin spoke. I'll share my batch of sake during the trip, sounds fair? I'll also ask Taka for a favor if that's alright with you. Jin asked as Yuna returned the embrace and smiled. Apology accepted, Jin. I just can't wait to see him. As she buried her face in his chest, causing him to blush a bit. He reminds me so much of me and Taka after we left from our mother. We both know how it feels to be homeless and alone, but to this extent is unacceptable. She said, almost crying at the statement, thinking about how she and Taka ran away from their own mother due to her own drunken beatings to the point of leaving out then and there. Only to be used by slave traders to their own personal gain, to work like obedient dogs yet getting abused like rabid animals, only to escape if it wasn't for her friend Ichi, who lost her arm yet successfully escaped. I know, especially what he carries inside of Naruto, like William and Hyde, he will change Japan for the better. Jin assured her, feeling a nod but also asked. So he has one of those, Biju? Which one, I ask? Asked Yuna, a bit sluggish. He holds the 9 tails, it's gonna definitely be a reunion. Jin said, letting out a yawn also. So the guardian spirit returns, are we also focusing on the other one next? Yuna barely asked as she was slowly drifting into the dream world. Yes, but not today, said Jin as he picked her up and two decided to sleep with his inspoken lover together. Guess that leaves little ol me, Yamato said to himself, tuning his instrument. Perhaps you can keep me company, Tenkai, he said as a spirit appeared beside him, what looks to be a blue whale and what looks to have a short miniature castle with its own tower, leaning towards his spirit tenant. He continued to practice his instrument, waiting for his potential pupil. With Naruto, Northern Rice Country. Naruto was wandering through the Rice Country, heading north to find safe passage to make his way towards the Snow Country via boat, hoping to find himself a harbor. While he did not want to get his precious people in danger by any means, he still needed to keep a low profile. He was stopped by a golden bird holding a scroll with the leaf insignia. For me? Naruto asked, to which the bird nodded and snuggled onto Naruto's right shoulder, resting on his neck, making him chuckle as such cute antics, but read the scroll. To Naruto, I have found a land where you will not have to worry about your turmoil affecting you. I was informed by a special someone that they are willing to raise you but train you like you always wanted. I too, was skeptical at first, but when he showed me proof about their homeland, I was instantly on board. Please accept it and do what you couldn't do and what I couldn't done for you since birth, have a life. Even though we are not related, I'm sorry my son, and I hope you can forgive this drunken hag for her unfortunate deeds for not raising you. Just follow the golden bird and all will be revealed. And don't worry, they already know you're a Jinchuriki, that's one reason they want you in their home. From Tsunade Senju, your godmother. Naruto finished reading with tears in his eyes. Finally, a land where they willingly wanting them to live, to raise them as one of their own despite his burden. He looked at the bird. So I guess you'll be my guide, little friend? He asked, to which the bird chirped in a yes. Alright, lead the way, he exclaimed, to which the bird flew, prompting Naruto to follow. I guess things are looking up after all, thought Naruto as he continued to follow his new golden friend. Hours later, Naruto, albeit tired, finally reached the destination, to what looks to be a medium-sized wooden boat with traditional Japanese design with an apartment-like deck. He sees a flag with a crest that he is unfamiliar with, 2 arrows pointed upwards, almost looking like mountains while it has a circle, the Sakai symbol. Wow, talk about a nice ship, right Kurama? Asked Naruto through his mind. Indeed Kit, however that crest, it looks familiar, I don't know why but it just feels like I know it but at the same time don't, I'll let you know what I come up with. Replied Kurama as after the banishment, Naruto got close to the 9-tailed fox, almost considering the fox as a brother, the only person always being with him, rather forcefully or not. Their thoughts were put on hold when they see what appears to be a monk playing an instrument, enjoying the view of the ocean. Hello, mister, I don't suppose you know why I'm here are you? Asked Naruto, with a hint of caution, even thought he was barely taught anything in the academy. He knew looks can be very deceiving, referring to the wave mission as one case. The monk turned and smiled at the little blonde. Yes I do child, although it might take a while. My friends inside are kinda at it again. Right now they're cooling off from another personal matter. Yamato said, gesturing him to come close. Come, sit with me, and don't worry, while I know how to fight, I only fight for peace. He gestured him to some and sit in the front end of the ship, to which they did, ignoring the ruckus inside. So young on, tell me about yourself, asked the monk. May I first ask who you are? You don't look like you're from around these parts, it's just you seem foreign than most, questioned, asked Naruto with eager curiosity. The monk simply smiled as this boy's behavior. First off little one, my name is Yamato, I'm a musician, telling the tales from the last generation, how those people affected the very lives we live in today. How about a tale where beasts that are as great as the spirits that brought them? He asked, to which got the attention the QB container. Really? I would actually love to hear it, can you please tell me? Please? Naruto pleaded, while Kurama, annoyed with his jailer's attitude, was intrigued to this monk. To see other mortals' interpretation to how the world was born, Yamato smiled and began to tell the tale. Centuries ago, where the first generation of humans lived in peace, not bothering about spreading war and destruction to each other. However, little did they know that they were being watched. There exists a being, a man whose looks can be mistaken for a yokai, his eyes, purple as violets yet powerful as the great earthquake. His horns being a part of his head, almost resembled of a oni, unaware of most, he had a third red eye in the middle of his forehead, almost resembled that of a kui ni michidami, evil eye. This was the man known as Hagoromo Otsutsuki, the first Jinchuriki. He stood from afar, watching the mortals grow accustomed to life, determining whether or not they were worthy of needing chakra to better both themselves and the world around them. However, that all changed when the fateful day arrived. Unaware to most, the tailed beast that resides inside of the Sannin, thinking that he is no threat, did the unthinkable. He escaped, ravaged the world as it was his personal playground, had it not been for his 2 sons named Ashura and Indra. The beast could have not only ruled the world with him as the very center, but threatened the world of the kami. After the tragic event, the first decided to split the power of the beast into 9 spirits while also bestowing humanity with the power of chakra at the cost of his own life so they can guide the mortals to begin and evolve anew. However, like the world disaster, everything changed as 9 of our spirits disappeared, never to be seen again, only its memories, manifested into lesser guardians roamed the land of gold. Now, the land of war. Enraged by their guardians being captured and taken to be used as such mindless slaves, the people of Japan who prayed to such divine beings, who gave offerings to shrines as gifts for respected spirits, and warriors, who protect the people to allow their generations to flourish, vowed to themselves that the troublesome fool who dared take away beings who are as old as the world itself will pay in not only blood, but in their very life. That man now known as Madara Uchiha. End of tale. As the tale ended, Naruto and Kurama were at a loss of words, while Naruto was moved and happy that such a story was well kept. Kurama was shocked. How can a human know something that dating back to the creation of chakra, and finding out of such ancient information, what's the most part of this tale? That it was indeed true. How? Asked Kurama. What was that? Asked Naruto, confused at the fox's attitude. I said, how? Demanded the 9-tailed fox. Yamato, while sensing the inner turmoil of a certain fox, simply talked first. You can come out now. Kurama, Yamato said casually, to which shocked both Naruto and the Kyuubi altogether. How do you? Before Naruto could continue, a smoke explosion appeared on his shoulder, revealing to be a chibi version of the fox himself, to which shocked him even more. How did you even? That was all he could say before he was smacked in the cheek by all the tales courtesy of the fox. I'll explain later. He turned towards Yamato. Alright monk, how the hell do you know of my birth? Demanded Kurama, because there should be no written evidence that old to survive such disasters, let alone unscathed. Simple 9 tails, observe. Oh Tenkai, would you kindly show yourself? He asked. A moment later, the whale appeared once again, locking eyes with his kin. I don't believe it, they are still around, asked Kurama as he could not believe there were others such as himself. The whale named Tenkai simply smiled and nodded his head before disappearing into thin air, leaving the excited Naruto and a very mind-blowing Biju in their thoughts. So, does that mean there are others such as myself, Yamato-san? Asked Naruto with at the verge of crying, knowing he wasn't alone dealing with such a burden. Of course child, however unlike here in these nations, out homeland worships these ancient guardians. Whoever possesses their desired spirit, has the spirit himself until he knows it is time to pass it on. And right now, it's not time yet to pass it on to my successor. Yamato explained and turned to Kurama. Also yes 9 tails, they are still around. Nekomata has been having the ick with regaining back his better half. Also you and your other kin aren't the only ones that are supernatural beings that protect sacred lands that have endured for generations. Spoke the musician. The guardian ape who protects the hot spring forests from Bandit Yoki, the snow serpent that protects the icelands of Ashina Prefecture, and the monks that resides in the high mountains of Mount Fuji. There you will find a monk, who wields a naginata, and wears a oni mask. But know this, he may look human, but you will soon come to understand that he is not to be provoked into a fight. While he is skilled, he is also compassionate and willing to teach the ways to you youngsters. Yamato summarized, chuckling, remembering the intense morning sessions monks had to go through. Especially the painful ones. His training won't be the only one you'll be receiving. A voice stated with a hint of pride. Just then Yuzo and Jin appeared behind the blonde, startling the boy in the process. Naruto looked and saw one that looks like a ronin while other looks like he walked through the rice fields. Hello child, my name is Yuzo, and this is my brother in arms Jin. We have come to take you from these parts to train you in the ways of both the samurai and in his shinobi arts. Stated Yuzo with determination on his tone. Well my name is Naruto Uzumaki, believe it. He said with his trademark grin. However I would like to ask a question Yuzo-san, said Naruto. Anything, said Yuzo still with his determined tone. Who do you look like, a scarecrow? Did you sewed it yourself? There was silence for a brief moment, only the waves could be heard crashing the boat. Yuzo, a face deflated, walking back to his room muttered, stupid clothes, stupid opinions, stupid fashion sense. Jin and Yamato burst out laughing, not being able to hold back any longer due to the out-of-nowhere insult, to which Naruto joined in the laughing fiasco. Jin recovered. Gaki, I like you already, he said as he ruffled his hair, causing him to grin at the process. Excuse me sir, while I don't mind this at all, but why are you guys treating me like if I was family to you guys? Shouldn't you guys hate me for what I have inside of me? Naruto asked curiously, since this was indeed odd for him. 2 reasons. 1. Because we do not see anything to hate, you're just a boy, regardless to what you have. We treat you like family because we were taught to always treat those with respect. Also we had some survivors from the Uzumaki clan reach our land after their 3rd shinobi war, explained Jin, to which catches Naruto's curiosity. That's very thoughtful of you guys, I appreciate it. Wait a minute, there are more Uzumakis. I thought it was just me, he exclaimed, questioned Naruto. Relax Naruto, no need to be loud, but yes, survivors indeed live and reside in my home island of Tsushima, which brings me to my next reason. He stopped, kneeling to Naruto's eye level, placing his hands on Naruto's shoulders and continued. We were supposed to raise you once you became of age, but because of the wars that went on, the disasters that were brewing thanks to powers that were never meant to be disturbed, we had no choice but to put you on hold. We did not wanted you to be used as a weapon by not only those who resides in Konoha, but to our enemies. He continued, with tears on his eyes. Thanks to allies from different upbringings, we were not only able to stop the great evils that could have threatened the world itself, but also end the long war that plagued our homeland. Once we had finished rebuilding, my uncle gave the order have his spies keep surveillance on you to ensure you were not harmed. However, we were too late once we heard of your banishment, so shortly after you left. Explained the Sakai head of Bu the situation. While Yuzo caused ruckus to your perfect village, I spoke with the Hokage to take you with me back to Tsushima. She agreed, ensuring I would keep you safe and trained to become the strongest warrior possible. Jin stopped and let the information take in for Naruto and continued. My uncle will be thrilled to see his surrogate nephew for the first time. I say that because my uncle and your father were like brothers. Like me and my scarecrow friend that you just insulted. Jin stated, and wiped his tears from his face and did the same with Naruto. Knowing he cannot coup with the information he just received, Jin gave Naruto a warm embrace, while Naruto, a bit shocked, returned in with great force, sobbing uncontrollably. While I want you to come with me to have a family that was robbed from you, it is ultimately your decision, Naruto. So how about it, Ototo, little brother, would you like to come with us? Jin questioned his now new little brother. Naruto was at a loss of words. What people to be labeled as a nobody, a child who people claimed to be not worth the dirt of their shoes, dealt with enough abuse, enough pain, and enough hardship to make even the most ruthless of people show sympathy towards the boy, is not only given an opportunity to not only change his life but to also be trained by those who in his eyes, surpassed most due to their explanations of dealing with dangerous forces and having the compassion to befriend kindred spirits such as himself. The fact that a friend of his deceased father wants to raise him is something that couldn't comprehend, especially when it's someone from far away. Alright mister, I accept, however I would like to ask for one condition, Jin-san. Naruto requested. Let me hear it, Ototo, Jin said. I would like to return at a later date, not because I still have loyalty to my former village, but because I have a small group of people that I promised I protect. While everyone hated me during my life, there were some I considered close friends. Please, Ani, big brother. Naruto pleaded with his puppy dog-eyed jutsu. Jin contemplated on his request, sure he could ensure he was properly and fully trained to his maximum potential, and to ensure he can endure as much pain as possible despite living through his childhood, since his reports from his spies were indeed correct. He did not want to leave him for himself. Sure he could handle it alone most likely, but he has already made enough errors in his judgment. Naturally, like Yuzo, reminded Naruto of himself, strong, compassionate and brave, something that most people should be. He broke from his thoughts when he finally answered. Alright Ototo, I accept, however I too would ask for a condition. Jin countered, to which Naruto got curious. Go ahead Ni-san, said Naruto. I would like to bring some very important people who will also be your masters, depending if you pass their trials to receive their kind of special training. I will not lie, the training and their way of tests will be rough once we get back. They are meant to test your will, your spirit, and your body. They are meant to break you and find out if you will endure and adapt, or lost and fail. Also, if you indeed pass, they will not only view you as a close comrade, maybe even close to family if that ever is possible, but they will teach you things that not even the elemental nations can compare to us alone, let alone an entire nation. So how about it Uzumaki Naruto, do you accept my request? Finished Jin. Naruto was thinking about this. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, training in both shinobi and samurai arts. Learning the ways of the elements, endure to ensure he would be strong. One would think it would be wise to decline, considering one who quits are easy to take the coward's way out. However, Naruto is known to never be one. Even during his childhood, he endured a lot that most would consider to be suicide. He pushed through the glares, the insulted, every beating and form of abuse. He, Uzumaki Naruto, endured all that. He thought about that and realized to himself that he was no coward. I have endured the pain. I have endured the beatdowns from both kids and adults my age. I have suffered through enough abuse to last a lifetime. I accept your request, but brother, and I promise that I will never stop until I not only complete, but master any and everything you or anyone who is willing to teach me. And I, Naruto Uzumaki, never gives up, believe it. He vowed and exclaimed, having his fist raised, ready to take up any challenge that the kami gives him. Jin was happy that he accepted, knowing he will need protection for when he will indeed return to the elemental nations, since he knows that Konoha won't be the only one gunning for him. Thank you Ototo, I promise you will not regret it. He shouted inside the deck, Kenji. Jin yelled. Kenji ran to the top deck, thinking the boat was attacked, or worse, a mob who wanted their refunds. Yes, Lord Sakai? We're not under attack, are we? Asked Kenji warily. No, Kenji, time to set sail, we're going home. Have Yuzo assist you with the sails, I'll be showing our new guest to Yuna. Once we finish, I'll let Yuna know to sail the ship, we'll take turns until we reach Izamo Bay. No drinking for you until we get back, I don't want another accident to happen, ordered Jin as he gestured to Naruto to follow him. Of course, Lord Sakai, I shall personally ensure the sails are perfectly placed, Kenji vowed as he got to work. This is your Captain Kenji of Izamo speaking. Letting everyone on board that the long travel to Tsushima will commence soon, so please have everything with you because we will not come back. Exclaimed Kenji, to which Naruto asked. Ototo, how long will the trip last? Naruto asked. 5 weeks, depending on the waves and storms, said Jin, but continued. Don't worry, we'll use this time to get you up to speed on the basics. And any techniques we have, said Jin with a smile. Moments later they began to set sail, going to whatever new land Naruto was about to venture to. Weeks later, Naruto was standing in the front end of the deck, enjoying the view of the ocean. While the fog was indeed dense, it was not all the way to the point of blindly going to any direction. He was still wondering how life in this new island will go for him. Wondering if these shinobi will even teach him well, unlike his one-eyed idiot of a sensei. Either this is a fast boat to travel in or time is going by quick. Thought the blondie, but his thoughts were on hold. We're almost there, the fog should be lifting soon, said a voice behind the little blonde. He turned and saw Yuna with a small smile, not knowing she startled him out of his thought. You alright? You're not seasick, are you? Asked Yuna with a hint of worry. No, I'm fine, Yuna-san, it's just I'm a bit worried, my last 2 sensei were both perverts. One was more focused more on training his prized student, and the other, while did train me to some extent, still focused on girls and writing about his pervy books. Never even got to sign a summoning contract with the Toads, said Naruto sadly, as while did get close to his pervy sensei and trained on his now signature jutsu, it was the only one that he ever learned. Summoning contracts? Those contracts that you sign in blood that allow you to call animal companions to help you in either important tasks or help you in battle? She questioned, to which Naruto sadly nodded. Don't worry, Gaki, once we reach to Tsushima, you'll have the opportunity to earn the summoning contract. However, you have to pass their tests. We shall see what contract suits you better, little Gaki, she said as she ruffled his hair, to which he chuckled. Thank you, Yuna-san, I appreciate the reassurance. If you ask me, you're basically like my aunt, since Jin calls me his Ototo, he said as he grinned, to which Yuna laughed it off. I guess I am, but don't worry, Gaki. Unlike your village, Tsushima will not shun or abuse you. Besides, you having a beast inside you pales in comparison to what our land been through, Yuna stated, but froze a bit. Knowing if it wasn't for her, Jin and to an extent Tsushima would have been not only in ruins, but also pillaged by yokai who have no qualms towards human life. However, those days are now over, but the memories still reside in her head. Yuna, are you okay? You look frightened a bit, asked a curious Naruto. To which Yuna snapped out of her thoughts. I'm fine, just having some flashbacks, that's all, assured Yuna. To which Naruto asked, were they bad? To which Yuna gave questioning look, what were bad? The flashbacks, he asked as he looked down a bit. There were moments in my life that whenever I tried to sleep, I sometimes have nightmares of the beatings I endured. Even now, whenever I pass by simple areas, I still get glimpses of me getting the usual glares, remarks and the beatings. It hurts me knowing that I had to deal with that, but at the same time it made stronger to be Hokage. But, he said, now thinking where things will lead him to. But what, Naruto? Asked Yuna. But now that I'm banished from the place that I promised myself to become Hokage, I don't know what I will do. Yes, I want to get respected, but I still feel like I want to make a name for myself, to show them that I can endure anything anyone throws me. Naruto, look at me, demanded Yuna. To which he did. She kneeled to eye contact, hands on his shoulders and a somewhat motherly face. Naruto, I have seen suffering since I was young. I and my brother have been abused because our mother's drinking habits. We have endured getting sold and put on slavery at a young age. We would have been kept there had it not been for my friend at the slavery camp. Because of her, we all escaped, but at the cost of her arm. But you on the other hand knows and understands the definition, she said as she began tearing up Abbott. I have seen the most hardened people break from simple things, I have seen monsters that would make the fox inside you look like a small fry. She said as the fox grumbled, I will be the judge of that woman, as the fox went back to his slumber, to which Yuna continued. But if those men have been in your predicament, they would have chosen death in a heartbeat, yet you endured. You endured because it made you strong and because you have a dream to gain attention. That shows you are determined by default. You show strength that nobody else in your village has shown in a long time. I don't care if those people on that pathetic monument accomplish something, they have never endured a painful childhood. If they had, then they would most likely give up at one point. Yuna stated with tears running down her cheeks. Know this, Naruto, and know it well. You know pain, you know suffering, yet you still stand in defiance to those who inflicted it. Ensure those that made you suffer that they have a debt to pay, rather with their lives or break their spirits one way or another. While I may not want to point your future, but promise me that you will show those that hated you that you will one day become the strongest person this world has ever known. Promise me, Naruto, can you do that for me? Asked Yuna, as she could only think of a few who could probably survive such a circumstance, but that would be a very, very low minority. Naruto cried as he felt somebody actually caring for him, as if she was family to him, and responded. I promise, Oba-san. I promise I will become the strongest person the world has ever known, believe it. He exclaimed as he hugged his now auntie. She returned at full force despite being labeled as a auntie. She will treat this boy like if he was the son she never had. Or at least until Jin decides it's time to give Naruto a little brother through some bedtime sparring. Their embrace was interrupted when Kenji yelled at the top of his lung. Land, I see land. Azamo Bay dead ahead, I can finally sell my goodies. He exclaimed with joy in his voice. And true to his word, the fog dispersed, revealing to be feudal city-like village. Boats ranging from merchants to military ships passing by, some carrying supplies like oak wood, meats, materials meant to build structures, eager to make a profit and trade the finest wares any shopkeeper has in store. Beautiful, Naruto said, awestruck, while he did experience going beautiful places such as the Spring Country with their advancements making it all the better. This almost pales in comparison to such a degree. Koyuki would probably be a bit jealous with having a rival country. He thought as maybe this new country and Spring could be very much like best friends. His thoughts were interrupted when Yuna spoke. I know, Naruto, it is indeed beautiful. Even after living here for so long, I still can't help but admire the sight as such beauty from the view alone. Yuna said, no matter how many times you go to the same place, that same place always take your breath away. Finally, I can finally catch up with my training with Master Kojira. No doubt he would bombard me with questions regarding this new land. Said Yuzo as he came out of his cabin room. I can tell. Jin said as he too along with Yamato came out of their rooms. Also don't worry, Yuzo, I'll send the report to Lord Shimura. Jin also added, giving Yuzo a happy face and a sigh of relief. Naruto, you're coming with. I'm talking you with me to Castle Kaneda. Please be polite and don't do anything that you would do on a daily basis, please? Asked Jin as he knows that this boy will become a menace to society sooner rather than later. Don't worry, Ni-san, I'll be fine. He grinned, not bothering on making devious pranks, but rather actually make some friends. Also Naruto, Jin said as he put his hand on Naruto's right shoulder and warmly smiled to him. Welcome to Tsushima.
That's all for now. If you enjoy this video, then please like, share and do comments.